Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. There's a place in Vermont to marvel at the wonders of the world. The Fairbanks Museum in St. Johnsbury is northern New England's Museum of Natural History. It houses tens of thousands of artifacts and the state's only public planetarium. Rebecca Gollin tells us more.
Located in the heart of downtown St. Johnsbury is the Fairbanks Museum and Planetarium. Founded in 1889, to display the eclectic collection of local industrialist Franklin Fairbanks, the museum's focus is natural history.
Franklin Fairbanks himself was a collector, and he was an amateur naturalist. He loved exploring and understanding nature, so he collected everything from rocks and minerals to bird specimens to eggs.
Fairbanks was the nephew of one of the inventors of the Fairbanks scale, which was produced in St. Johnsbury. He inherited a fortune, as well as an interest in philanthropy. Establishing the museum was one way to share his love of learning and nature.
He also did things like he kept meticulous weather records. He recorded temperatures and wind speed and made observations about things like when strawberries were growing in his field. So he was a great observer.
Built in the Victorian style that was popular in the late 1800s, the building is listed on the National Historic Register. The collection inside also reflects the Victorian era in which most of it was gathered.
The core collections are full habitat dioramas of animals in the wild, so you can see them up close. The taxidermist, William Balch, did an absolutely brilliant job placing those animals in family situations, so you might see what they eat, how they communicate, how they take care of each other, what their nests look like. For example, in one of his earliest dioramas, flamingos, there's an egg and a juvenile and then an adult and an aging flamingo, all in the same grouping, and it's really a chance to see them all together.
The intention was to widen the horizons for museum visitors by giving them a chance to see these wonders from far away. Along with the objects and artifacts on display, the museum also houses cultural items from around the world.
The items that were brought here were picked up by the Fairbanks family or by representatives of the scale company when they traveled around the world. There's an alcove dedicated to Egypt. There's one with items from different parts of Europe. There are items from islands in the Pacific. And they're not complete representations of any one part of the world, but they're pieces that were picked up by very specific travel, and they represent what was interesting at the time.
Nearby is a series of artworks whose medium is one of the most unusual you'll find anywhere, representing the Victorian fascination with animals, shapes, and collecting. These images require viewers to take a closer look.
We have these lovely mosaics that were put together by a man named John Hampson, and then I asked people to get up close and sort of take a look and see if they can tell me what they're made of. And usually after about 10 seconds, you'll get a response. And that response is because these mosaics are actually made by pinning thousands and thousands of beetles and moths on a surface in patterns and designs that were pleasing to the artist who made them.
That's right. This is bug art, and the Fairbanks owns the entire collection. Along with the emphasis on the natural world around us, the museum encourages visitors to look up. The Fairbanks has a team of meteorologists on site and is home to the only planetarium in the state.
There are things that happen in the sky that, well, I guess maybe it just surprises people if they haven't necessarily noticed it before.
Mark Breen is one of the meteorologists at the Fairbanks.
Oh, it's cold.
He also serves as a tour guide to the cosmos for the planetarium's visitors.
It's such a genuine experience. I mean, you're describing about this particular constellation that you'll see this evening at 7 o'clock, or this is, certain planets are out tonight, or the moon's going to be moving through a certain, constellation or next to a planet.
Breen says that keeping track of Vermont's complicated weather is a unique challenge.
Sometimes people ask me, is there really such a thing as Vermont weather? You know, is it different than, you know, New Hampshire weather or something like that? And really the key thing about our weather, and what I think keeps it fascinating for me, I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years, is that our mountains and valleys and how they're arranged and how weather systems come up along the coastline or they come out of Canada or off the Great Lakes, all of those different things kind of create unique weather really just from one spot to the other. I wouldn't even say from one town to the other, because within the same town, there'll be a situation where it's sunny in one place and it's snowing like crazy in another, or in the summer you'll be a thunderstorm and it only hits one spot and not another.
The Fairbanks has educational programs for students of all ages, as well as their own nature-based preschool.
One of the best kept secrets of this museum is that it is an active teaching museum. So we have partnerships with the schools in this area, and we have a really phenomenal team of educators that go and they work with teachers and students throughout the year, students in kindergarten through 8th grade, delivering science classes.
It's a chance for visitors to explore the natural world, from the smallest bugs to the largest planets.
Whenever I come here, I find something new, and I've been here many years now. But there's still things that I hadn't seen before and things to discover.
Bringing the wonders of the world to Vermont's Northeast Kingdom. The Fairbanks Museum and Planetarium invites guests to begin their journey of discovery right here in St. Johnsbury. I'm Rebecca Gollin with Across the Fence.
The museum has been installing new exhibitions and working to maintain its collections. It'll reopen this coming Saturday, January 20th, with its normal hours from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Our next segment involves food, and we start with a little background. Vermont's universal recycling law was passed in 2012. It takes effect in stages. By 2020, the law mandates that all food scraps be banned from landfills. But already businesses that generate more than a ton of food scraps each week must divert those scraps from the landfill. The changes have prompted entrepreneurs to think about how to turn food scraps into job prospects and an improved environment. Here's Across the Fence's Keith Silva with more on that.
The containers outside Commodities Natural Market in Stowe are not for trash. What's inside is a high-value product, and making sure it goes to the right place is the law.
It's materials management. It's no longer waste management.
As stated in Vermont's universal recycling law, materials like metal, glass, and paper are banned from landfills starting July 1st, 2015. In addition, businesses or institutions generating more than 1 ton of food scraps per week are required to send those materials to the nearest compost facility within a 20-mile radius.
Vermont is the only state in the nation that has adopted a full disposal ban on food scraps, which is really innovative, and a lot of other states are looking to us to see how we're doing this and see what tools and resources we have to help with this.
Enter Grow Compost. It specializes in commercial food scrap collection for businesses in central Vermont. What they collect goes, or grows, into their own brand of organic compost.
In 2012, the state of Vermont passed a universal recycling law, which created an opportunity for everyone to understand these materials as valuable resources that could be brought back into our soils, could be quality food that could be fed to people, food for animals, and so we've taken that as our model for our business.
This stop at Commodities Natural Market includes an added bonus. A value-added bonus, so to speak. Along with the compost bins, Grow Compost also picks up recoverable food for donation.
This beautiful lettuce, for instance, that Commodities has for us today, that is just in time before it, can't really sit on the shelf for too many more days. It doesn't feel good to throw, a crate of apples away. Even if they're going to compost, when they're perfectly quality edible apples. And so it's a feel-good thing, yeah, but it's also the right thing to do because it does cost a little bit extra. We don't want this to be a cost to those who are donating the food, nor do we want it to be a cost to those who are receiving the food.
Make no mistake, There's a big difference between food that's considered scrap and food that's deemed recoverable.
What we're talking about is the food that has not been served, has not been on anybody's plate. It may be breads that are a day old, bagel shops that put out day old bagels. I mean, those are still quality edible foods, but the quality, that fresh day bagel, is not there. So they may put that out for discount, or as an option as well, they could donate that to our food shelves in Vermont.
Food recovery is not a requirement in Vermont's universal recycling law, but the legislation does consider the Environmental Protection Agency's food recovery hierarchy,
which sets out as waste reduction first and foremost. Following that is capturing the quality edible food to feed people. To put that into perspective, about 40% of food that goes to waste could have been eaten. And only about 10%, a very small percentage of that waste, and what ends up being wasted food, is rescued for donation and for use in other ways.
Grow Compost has had to modify their trucks so any recovered food is stored safely.
Rescuing food requires that we have separate compartments for those foods that are refrigerated and can hold special containers so that there's not any cross-contamination between the food scraps and the food that is going to people, even the food that's going to animals.
The cost to retrofit or purchase a truck to haul recoverable food is not insignificant.
From $1,000 to $10,000. I mean, you can do it at sort of any level. I wish I could say the bottom line is I make more money doing this. I probably don't. I like to say that it's a kind of a break-even situation. But for us, it makes our customers feel good. It creates more business for us. Most people who are composting are doing it because they care. So if they can find a company whose philosophy is about finding the best use for all this material, I think that only is good for us and for them.
The recovered food is brought to the Community Kitchen Academy at Capstone Community Action in Barrie. The Kitchen Academy is a partnership between the Vermont Food Bank and Capstone Community Action.
We're making a lot of great food.
The Academy helps under- and unemployed Vermonters receive training in the food service industry. All the food Chef Jamie Eisenberg and her students are working with has either been recovered or donated to the Vermont Food Bank.
It's a win-win for everybody. The food that we take here is food that's perfectly good to eat. It just might be a little blemished or maybe a label hanging off of a can or something. Not perfect for the marketplace. So we're helping out the economy by using that product. We're helping out the environment because it's not going to the landfill. It's being used in a training program where people are going to use that to practice their skill sets. And then it's a win for our community because what we do here is everything we make here. We make hundreds of pounds of food a day. All of that food gets packaged and put into our food shelf for the community to get to help sustain them through hard times when they don't really have enough food to eat.
Woohoo! Gorgeous. That is beautiful looking scramble. Nice.
Eisenberg teaches her students that food that's been recovered, donated, or store-bought is still food. All it needs is to be prepared.
When you're cooking food, you're breaking it down anyway. So we're going to take the product and evaluate it. And if it's something that might be past prime, then we're going to use the cooking method that's going to be the best batch for that product. So yeah, it's a challenge, but I don't think that the product is really any less than it would be if we were to buy it from the marketplace in perfect condition.
Full implementation of Vermont's universal recycling law goes into effect in 2020. Right now, the efforts of Grow Compost and others are bringing new opportunities to Vermont businesses.
It is a feel-good thing, but it's the way we do business. I think it's the way most Vermonters do business.
Recycling, caring for the environment, and giving back to the community. It's not just the law, it's the business of Vermont. In Barrie, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you for joining us. That's our program for today. I'm Judy Simpson. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.